Have you guys heard of Mars by any chance?
Is that thing in our cul-de-sac of planets?
Yeah.
Solar system. Yes.
Oh my god, I didn't realize you were serious. Yeah, it's like our neighbor.
Yeah, next door neighbor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
big red one.
Yeah.
So Mars, you might know this. We sent a little thing up to Mars, didn't we? We do that often.
Recently?
Well,
Yes,
Some
we
we sent a
did.
few things. Oh, we did. Oh, I've just remembered. Yes, we
yeah,
did.
yeah, we did. Told you about it the other day as well. No, we sent a rover up to Mars. It's called Perseverance. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Perseverance. The rover, not the concept. So
Tell me, Corey. I wish to persevere.
Look, I cannot tell you anything about Perseverance, and you know that. But I can tell you about Perseverance. So they're basically looking for signs of life on Mars, because you might know that we've kind of thought that there might have been life on Mars because we found some water and evidence of where water used to be. So essentially, the rover is going to get samples of rock and whatnot and just analyze it, see if there's any signs of life. And essentially, it can collect sort of rocks and soil to be brought back to Earth at some point when we, head over to Mars again. So it cost about $2.7 billion, or about 1.9 billion pounds, which is it's more than you've got in your bank account probably.
I think by a little bit, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. So it launched all the way back in July of last year in 2020. You might remember the launch. I think we might have spoken about it. I'm not sure. And it landed on the 18th of February, just this year. And it landed in a place called Jezero Crater, which is obviously on Mars. Sorry, I was just looking at. I was reading it there, and I was like, it was written like I've written it like an address. And
Is it a nice place?
it's all right.
Many shopping centres? Yeah.
Well, it's about a few 100,000 kilometers
How are
from
the
the
schools?
nearest.
Are they good schools?
Well, there's lots of smart robots on Mars. I mean, a couple. Anyway, so it landed in a place called Jezero Crater, which is an old lake, and obviously water means potential for life, and it's got carbonate rocks in it, which can preserve organic molecules. Basically, that gives us a good idea of the possibility of life on Mars. So we sent it to basically a crater that used to be a lake, and we're going to have it looking for little signs of life. And this could be really cool, because if we find signs of life on Mars, that's cool, isn't it? We know that life can exist outside of Earth. We've got like cold, hard evidence for that. And it means that there's a probably pretty good possibility that we could go ahead and live on Mars for a little bit.
For a little bit.
Just a spell.
So it's like a weekend getaway house.
I mean,
I heard-
a weekend getaway, but it takes you about a year to get there and back. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to plan ahead.
Yeah.
I heard recently that finding signs of life on other planets is actually really devastating news for us as a species. Do you know about this, Corey? It's called the Great Filter.
Oh yeah, I do know about the Great Filter. Yeah, go ahead and
So
explain.
the idea is basically that if you look out on the solar system right now, the universe has been around for a while. Why are there not other life forms? Why are there not other life forms that we can communicate with? And the idea is that, well, maybe there is some kind of barrier that you need to overcome before you become a spacefaring species. And you have this idea that if there aren't loads of them, and there's been quite a lot of time since the start of the universe, then there must be some kind of filter. And the worry we have is, well, is the filter in front of us, i.e., are we going to somehow destroy ourselves, which is the explanation as to why there isn't loads of life all over the planet, is because most of the time this filter ends up, they destroy themselves. It could be, for example, the discovery of nuclear radiation. Everyone always blows themselves up. Or AI always destroys all the species, or is the filter before us, in which case we overcame that filter, in which case, great. But that's also why there isn't loads of other animals and other things around the galaxy, because most things don't actually go past that filter.
Right.
Now, we would very much like it to be behind us, because that means doesn't look like we're statistically likely to destroy ourselves anytime soon.
So if we find evidence of other life, it's probably in front of us.
Yes.
Well,
more likely,
it
yes.
depends. It depends where that filter is, though. And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, bear in mind that this is the concept of the filter could be anything from sort of nuclear war, like this is sort of mutually assured destruction, to it's just very unlikely for life to sort of get past that very first stage. Let's say that life get past the first stage of being like sort of single cells. That's very unlikely. And the thing is that if we find evidence of life on Mars, like past evidence of past life, that could mean that we're past the filter. But it could also mean, I mean, there could be more than one filter as well.
Right.
Which is the next
Yes.
issue you got to worry about.
True.
Because you'd be like, oh, great, we passed that, but Oh,
Every
what about the
so
next
basically
one?
the
Starts
idea was
climate
the more complex life you find that is less complex than yours, the worse it is for you, because it suggests that there is not as much of a filter before you, so the filter is probably after your developmental stage.
And actually, finding
Damn.
So finding some little microbes is fine, but if we find some little rats or something on Mars, oh no.
Mars rat.
And then we find it on
Yeah.
Europa as well, and then we find it in other places. We're like, oh god, the filter is coming to get us.
I mean, like that's like being way out ahead. And the thing is, I don't like the idea that we're first, because this is the thing: we don't deserve to be first. We're far too arrogant for that.
True.
You know, it should be being the first species should
We
go
shouldn't
to
get that one.
yeah, should go to a more humble species. I think.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Rats.
Elephants.
No,
Elephants, yes.
A different planet. Everything on Earth is
Elephants
arrogant.
on a different planet.
Yeah, no.
Corey, I
Well,
think you might be projecting. Are you okay?
no. Honestly, I just think that all forms of life on Earth have this kind of arrogance to them.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't spoken to any other ones.
Yeah, I have. No, I just mean in the concept of kind of like, oh, I'm gonna keep life going forever. Ooh, shut up. Nah, just do one generation and be done with it. You know.
Humans 2 billion years from now.
So your definition of arrogance is whether you decide to voluntarily destroy yourself, not to decide to voluntarily destroy yourself.
Look, don't look too deeply into it, okay? No, I think it's arrogant to want your species to continue on forever, you know? That's what this planet does. It adapts to survive, and I think that we should
Humans need to finish their character arc. And
I think
die.
you might think that life itself is arrogance, Corey.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Probably true, yeah.
Okay, so back to the rover. What does it look like? So a lot of its body is built on Curiosity. Not literally built on Curiosity, because that's still kicking about Mars. But
What if we put this here and we put this here? Just see what happens.
Some prosthetic surgery.
give it a nice little hat.
Oh, a new rover.
A complete replica of Wall-E, and we're sending it to Mars.
They get a Wall-E mask and like put it on Curiosity. Boom. That's Perseverance.
It doesn't look unlike Wall-E though.
No, it
looks
I
like
think 'cause-
big spindly Wall-E.
I think that's because Wall-E was probably based on rovers rather than
Nope.
the other way around.
What came first, Wall-E or Curiosity rover?
When did Wall-E came out in 2009?
Yeah.
Well, Curiosity was 2012 that it landed.
Did Wall-E come
so
out in
probably
2009? Or is that just me?
It was probably earlier than that, to be honest.
Really?
2008.
Yes.
So I would say Wall-E came before the public was generally aware of what Curiosity would look like, although there have been previous rovers than Curiosity.
Yeah, there have been other
so-
rovers, and also Pixar absolutely could have spoken to NASA because they seem like they'd be friends. You know, they seem like they've got similar
get
vibes.
on.
You know, you've
They
got
meet
the
up for coffee.
yeah,
They talk about their projects.
all of Pixar and all of NASA. But back to what Perseverance looks like. Yeah, so a lot of it is built. It's built around what worked with Curiosity, and it's got a lot of parts that basically are parts from Curiosity, not the literal parts, but the sort of same spec and design. And it's about the size of a car, which is I don't think of rovers. I think of the rovers as being like little friends,
tiny dog things.
little
right?
friends,
Yeah.
you know, like this size, no bigger than me, but they're the size. This one's the size of a car. It's about 10 feet long, not including its arm. 'Cause it's got a little arm.
Sorry, I pictured a car with an arm. Just like,
Yeah,
Is it the arm that takes selfies?
I
Yeah, because Curiosity takes selfies. It has a camera and a long arm and it takes selfies.
it has a selfie stick with a phone on the end.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, the selfie stick is its arm, but yeah,
That's like saying this is my selfie stick. No,
it is nature's selfie stick.
Nothing wrong
I
with it.
hate this conversation so much. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. So it's got a bunch of cameras on it. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a sec. It's 10 feet long, not including its arm, 9 feet wide, and 7 feet tall. So it's taller than me by a foot. So if you can imagine me standing up, it's got an extra like this on
Oh
top of my
goodness.
head, and it weighs. We're not going to body shame, but it weighs over 1,000 kilograms, which is 2,260
Jeez.
pounds. And it's again, don't want to body shame. We're just trying to be realistic here. It is 126 kilograms heavier than Curiosity.
Oh dear. Someone
Yeah.
call Jenny Craig.
So it's got this. Its power system is pretty cool. I think it's basically it uses plutonium to generate. It uses the heat from plutonium decaying to generate electricity.
Mhm.
So it's it's powered by radiation, which is really cool.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, but it also means probably that if you were to go and like, if we were to go to Mars and like in The Martian, and we wanted to like, say hi to it, we'd probably want to stay a good little distance
you
away.
wouldn't want to get inside it
No,
like a car.
you wouldn't. You would
Drive
not
around.
want to. I don't think there's any space inside it. I
No.
don't think they thought of that. To be perfectly honest, maybe you could sit
We'll
on
just
its arm.
install a seat and a steering wheel just in case.
Its arm will just grab you. It's hold onto you.
Oh, it'll just
Nice.
pick you up like
And then you take a
And you just
picture of
carry
it,
around.
and then you're the phone.
and then you're the phone. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
So it's really cool. So I mean, obviously we've with Mars, we've the more sort of exploration we've done of it, the sort of more we know about it, obviously, and the more we realize that it used to be very different from what it is now. Because right now we kind of think of it as a cold, red, dead place, but it used to be potentially a little bit wet, which is good for life. Life loves wetness. In fact, life
Generally, yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no, yeah, life loves wetness.
quite a lot.
So that's what where you can find sort of liquid water, usually that's a really good place to look for life. Because obviously water is a place where sort of lots of things can dissolve, and all of the sort of things that you need for life can just exist in a solution in water quite easily. So we found that there were wet conditions billions of years ago, and apparently those conditions lasted long enough to support a life. So and obviously we think only sort of microbial life, so just bacteria and whatnot. But it could be completely different from bacteria. We don't know. But the thing is that the sort of evidence of that could be stored essentially inside of rocks and soil samples. So using those rocks and soil samples, we can figure out, was there life or wasn't there? And that's kind of what the plan is. So it's got some key objectives. This is taken this is taken from NASA, from their little fact sheet. So to explore a geologically diverse landing site. So it's going to spend about, one Mars year, which is about 687 days.
Oh my goodness.
687 Earth days. It's going to spend one Mars year at the landing site, just sort of researching it.
It's a long year.
Yeah, it's almost 2 years, 2 Earth years.
Ooh.
Almost. And it's going to assess ancient habitability, look for signs of ancient life, particularly in special rocks known to preserve the signs of life over time, gather rock and soil samples that could be returned to Earth by a future NASA mission, and demonstrate technology for a future robotic and human exploration. So essentially, the idea of this rover is to have a look at the rocks and soil, figure out if we could find living stuff there, and, test out some technology that could be useful in sending more robots or humans to Mars, which is it's pretty cool. I just really like that we're really getting there when it comes to moving to Mars for a bit.
I'm gonna say this. It's kind of like when you have a flat viewing. When you got to look at a flat, it's just like sending the rover there to do it for you.
You got to check there's
It's like,
enough
ooh,
sockets and
It's quite
stuff.
nice
like,
here.
oh, where's the socket placement? There's one over there. Okay, that's good.
What
That's
are the
good.
facilities like? Oh, we could probably renovate that. Or-
I think now this is a living room, but I think it would be a really good master bedroom, and we just swap the other bedroom to a. What do you think?
yeah,
Of Mars.
it's close enough to if the town square is there. It's close enough.
I think this crater could be New York.
Oh yes.
So it's got a lot of stuff in it. So it's got a lot of equipment. I'll just quickly run through what it's got. So it's got something called Mastcam Z, which is a camera system. It's got a lot of cameras on it. It's got a whole bunch to take lots of pictures.
Yeah.
And it's got something else called Supercam, which again is a camera, but it can also analyze the chemical composition of.
That is a super cam.
Yeah, it's very
Oh
cool.
my God.
At a distance, there's something called a pixel, which is a planetary instrument for X-ray lithochemistry. Again, all of these are essentially kinds of cameras or chemical sort of chemical composition systems. Basically, all of the equipment that it's got is just to scan the outside world, essentially.
Yeah.
So I won't run through everything that it's got, but it's got a bunch of really cool cameras, a lot of really cool sensors, radar, loads of stuff. And this is the thing. So I'll tell you a little bit about the landing, because the landing only just happened, again, as I said, on the 18th, only a couple of days ago. And almost 50% of the spacecraft sent to the surface of Mars have failed, apparently.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, apparently. About almost 50%. Although only one of those was
wait.
NASA, I think, in 1999 or so. So while we have gotten better at it, and NASA, America in particular, has got a pretty good track record. So it worked perfectly fine, obviously. So there were two NASA orbiters, which basically sort of satellites around Mars, that were relaying the sort of the information back to us from the rover on Mars. And essentially, this is the thing, because there is a delay a pretty serious delay between Earth and Mars. I mean, it takes light 3 to 20 minutes depending on the time of year.
Not as bad as I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too far.
Yeah.
But anywhere between 3 and 20. I think the average is about 12 and a half minutes. Obviously, again, this depends on where the two planets are, because if they're both orbiting the sun, they're not going to be the same distance from each other all of the time. So yeah, it took a while. So the rover actually has this sort of inbuilt hazard detection system in it that it uses to sort of navigate its way around, and it had lots of different components for the landing. Like I think it had a parachute and whatnot to help it land safely, and it all went off perfectly well. NASA were cheering when it landed, but obviously because of COVID right now, the issue was that a lot of people working on this are not in the same place. So some of them are in the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, California. Some of them were there, but they were also, they couldn't have the whole team there because of the restrictions, so they were spread around different NASA locations, and some of them apparently were doing it at home on their laptops, which imagine like having kids, right? And you're sitting just typing away on your laptop, launching something to Mars.
Stop, Mummy's trying to launch the rover to Mars.
Imagine your internet goes down.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
But to be fair, a lot of the Mars rover is autonomous. It can do a lot by itself.
Yeah.
Again, because the ping is like could be up to like 40, 22 minutes there and 22 minutes back.
Yeah.
And the shortest it could be is about 6 minutes. So, it needs to be able to do a lot by itself. And yeah, so the landing went well, as I said. It hit pretty much exactly where it was supposed to be. Apparently it's about 2 kilometers southeast of what used to be a river. Something really cool they're going to be doing there is testing a helicopter. So it will be the first, it's got this tiny little sort of helicopter, think of like a tiny little sort of drone that is going to be the first powered flight on another planet. So
my God.
Apparently they've described this as a Wright brothers moment for Mars, which is so cool. But think about this. This is really, really interesting to me, because the first Wright brothers plane was, I think, in 1903 or something.
Something like that.
It was a lot later than you'd think it was. So that was only 100 or so years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just over 100 years, we have gone from flying, like learning how to fly planes on our planet, to learning how to fly to other planets and also fly other things on those planets, which is really in just over 100 years. I think that's really cool. I think that's
we made
amazing.
Quick work of it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I mean, the time between sort of planes to rockets is fascinating to me. It's only, not even really 50 years.
Yeah. That's going to be so cool to watch.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. But yeah, that is the Mars Perseverance rover. And, we'll probably be talking a little bit more about that.
As we find out more, I guess.
Yeah. Because this is something that's developing. I can't wait. And one day, maybe we'll be doing Sci Guys from Mars. You don't know.
Well, all that Patreon money's got to go to something, isn't
Got
it?
to go to Mars. If you enjoyed that clip, head over to patreon.com/SciGuys, where you can find the full show. Or you can stay here and catch up on old Sci Guys episodes. Or you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at SciGuysPod to find out when we're doing more live shows.